There are 33.3 million people living with HIV. 2.8 million of them live in India. For many years, widespread police abuse of frontline HIV/AIDS prevention workers in India undermined the efforts to contain one of the worst epidemics in the world. In 2001, in Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh, police raided the offices of 2 NGOs running HIV programs with men who have sex with men and arrested 4 workers.
We were beaten publicly when we were taken to jail, and for 10 days in the beginning we were denied drinking water. They made sure that we don't get drinking water for the first 10 days. Even after those 10 days, we were denied basic amenities. For 47 days we did not get proper cooked food. The hygiene condition was very bad. Even for the toilets we had to take water from the drains, the filthy black waters, and all 4 of us got a lot of infections from the jail, and we were beaten every day almost.
The 4 were charged under Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code, which effectively criminalised homosexuality.
It gave a huge momentum. It brought the issue out in public. Before that, Section 377 was thought to be targeting only those people who were engaged in sex and caught having sex. But after that, it was seen as that the section can be used to harass anybody who is involved having sex, doing any kind of prevention work with these populations, community-based organization or not, but anybody can be arrested, and anybody can be harassed using this section.
377 Act of the Indian Penal Code is basically, it reads as follows: whoever voluntarily has carnal intercourse with a man, woman or an animal against the order of nature is punishable with imprisonment of up to 10 years or life, or fine or both. The British, when they enacted the law in the 1860s, they had a particular notion about sexuality, and they did not condone any non-heterosexual sex. So the purpose and the meaning and intent of against the order of nature is to only allow heterosexual penile vaginal sex.
Under these archaic British colonial laws, the lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender community had experienced years of discrimination, police harassment and abuse.
We are the only section minority which is visible. Visibility adds a lot of stigma, and that makes us the stigma and vulnerability right even from the cops, because we become an easy target. So sometimes laws like Section 377, soliciting laws and other laws are used as a mere way to convict us and our community.
This incident helped to focus the efforts of the lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender community to work with lawmakers, civil society, opinion formers and the Ministry of Health to create a movement calling for the reading down of Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code.
In the HIV/AIDS epidemic itself, we had enough data to show that the vulnerability of people, men who have sex with men and sex workers, and there were a certain category of population groups due to their own lifestyle or other vulnerabilities were more susceptible to HIV infection, and we had to reach out to them.
Unless we really address the legal environment and try to correct it, try to make it more benign, more friendly to the people concerned, we will not be able to really provide those services to the people. So even from a purely public health point of view, we need to correct the laws. Otherwise, I think we will not be able to provide those optimum level of services.
Punitive laws essentially have a chilling effect on interventions. By chilling effect, what I mean is that they create an environment where people cannot seek information. And information is key to HIV prevention. And that's where the real impediment lies.
The movement to repeal Section 377 was led by the Naz Foundation, an activist group which filed a public interest litigation in the Delhi High Court in 2001, working with a legal team from the Lawyers Collective.
we were finding that our outreach workers were constantly being harassed by the cops, and very often they would use the threat of Section 377 by saying that, oh, by giving out condoms to the community, you're actually promoting an illegal behavior. Then, of course, we did a lot of counseling of families, and invariably, it used to be really sad because families would kind of say, okay, we acknowledge that we must accept our child for who he is, but if it is so normal and natural, why is it illegal? Why is it seen as a criminal activity? Which always made me feel sick to my stomach.
In an historic judgment delivered on the 2nd of July 2009, the Delhi High Court overturned the 150-year-old section legalising consensual homosexual activities between adults.
Really the question is, what are the limits on the legislature in passing law, in moral legislation, in enacting moral legislation? So whether in examining the constitutionality of such legislation, what should be the criteria? The Government of India's stand was, look here, that the Indian society as a whole, or by majority, disapprove this deviation in sexual behavior, and therefore it really reflects the view of the majority, and therefore it is based on public morality. So we said no, it must satisfy the test of constitutional morality, meaning thereby that it should be in consonance with the principles of the various fundamental rights enshrined in the Constitution.
The judgment is in many ways a community authored judgment, and the words of the community find a place within the judgment itself. I think the key point to note is when you read the judgment, you get a sense that the judges are remarkably empathetic to the suffering of lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender persons. They narrate instances of violation faced by LGBT persons.
The reading down of Section 377 is still to be upheld by the Indian Supreme Court, but it has already created a huge change in Indian society and improved the access of groups like men who have sex with men and transgender groups to accessing HIV prevention services and treatment. But there is still more to do.
It's really critical for all of us to understand that laws which are so regressive and archaic don't make sense in any community, in any culture, in any country. Because a law like this is so violative of a person's inherent rights, which are guaranteed by all governments, or should be guaranteed by all governments. And I also think the international community needs to understand that we can and must challenge these kind of laws. Because it takes away a person's it chips away at the inner core. And for any culture and any country to do well, we have to treat our people as equal citizens. Otherwise, it's pointless.
The epidemic is still causing devastation. We're still seeing 2.7 million new infections around the world every year, and it will not be changed in a sustainable way unless we can address the structural issues that are driving new infections. And law reform is a very important path to making those changes. And we've unfortunately are in a situation where the health profession, medical advances are leading the way, but law reform needs to follow very closely to make those changes sustainable. It's urgent, it needs to start now.